The Waco CG-4A was the most widely used American troop/cargo military glider of World War II. It was designated the CG-4A by the United States Army Air Forces, and named Hadrian, after the Roman emperor, in British military service. Designed by the Waco Aircraft Company, flight testing began in May 1942, and eventually more than 13,900 CG-4As were delivered. Design and development. The CG-4A was constructed of fabric-covered wood and metal and was crewed by a pilot and co-pilot. It had 2 fixed main wheels and a tail wheel. The CG-4A could carry 13 troops and their equipment. Cargo loads could be a 14-ton truck, i.e. a Jeep, a 75 mm howitzer, or a 14-ton trailer, loaded through the upward hinged nose section. C-47s were usually used as tow aircraft. A few C-46 tugs were used during and after Operation Plunder. The USAF CG-4A tow line was 1/116-inch diameter, 17 mm, nylon, 350 feet, 107 m, long. The CG-4A pickup line was 1/516-inch, 24 mm, diameter nylon, but only 225 feet, 69 m, long including the doubled loop. In effort to identify areas where strategic materials could be reduced, a single XCG-4B was built at the Tim Aircraft Corporation using wood for the main structure. Production. From 1942 to 1945, the Ford Motor Company's plant in Kingsford, Michigan, built 4,190 model CG-4A gliders for use in combat operations during World War II. The Kingsford plant built more CG-4A gliders than any other company in the nation at much less cost than other manufacturers. The other primary builders of the model CG-4A gliders were located in Troy, Ohio, Greenville, Michigan, Astoria, New York, Kansas City, Missouri, and St. Paul, Minnesota. The 16 companies that were prime contractors for manufacturing the CG-4A were: Babcock Aircraft Company of DeLand, Florida, 60 at $51,000 each. Cessna Aircraft Company of Wichita, Kansas, 750. The entire order was subcontracted to Boeing Aircraft Company's new Wichita plant. Commonwealth Aircraft of Kansas City, 1,470. Ford Motor Company of Kingsford, Michigan, 4,190 units at $14,891 each. GNA Aircraft of Willow Grove, PA, 627. General Aircraft Corporation of Astoria, L.I. New York, 1,112. Gibson Refrigerator of Greenville, Michigan, 1,078. Leister Kaufman Corporation of St. Louis, Missouri, 310. National Aircraft Corp. of Elwood, in 1, at an astronomical $1,741,809. Northwestern Aeronautical Corporation of Minneapolis, 1,510. Pratt Reed of Deep River, Connecticut, 956. Ridgefield Manufacturing Company of Ridgeville, New Jersey, 156. Robertson Aircraft Corporation of St. Louis, 170. Tim Aircraft Company of Van Nuys, California, 434. Waco Aircraft Company of Troy, 1,074 units at $19,367 each. Ward Furniture Company of Fort Smith, Arkansas, 7. The factories ran 24-hour shifts to build the gliders. One night shift worker in the Wicks Aircraft Company factory in Kansas City wrote, "On one side of the huge bricked-in room is a fan running, on the other a cascade of water to keep the air from becoming too saturated with paint. The men man the paint sprayers covering the huge wings of the glider with the khaki or blue and finishing it off with that thrilling white star enclosed in a blue circle that is winging its way around the world for victory. The wings are first covered with a canvas fabric stretched on like wallpaper over plywood, then every seam, hold, open place, closed place, and edge is taped down with the all-adhesive dope that not only makes the wings airtight, but covers my hands, my slacks, my eyebrows, my hair, and my tools with a fast-drying coat that peels off like nail polish or rubs off with a thinner that burns like hell. Operational history. Whiteman Air Force Base was originally activated on August 6, 1942 as Sedalia Glider Base. In November 1942 the installation became Sedalia Army Airfield and was assigned to the 12th Troop Carrier Command of the United States Army Air Forces. The field served as a training site for glider pilots and paratroopers. Assigned aircraft included the CG-4A glider, Curtiss C-46 Commando, and Douglas C-47 Skytron. The C-46 was not used as a glider tug in combat, however, until Operation Plunder, the crossing of the Rhine, in March 1945. CG-4As went into operation in July 1943 during the Allied invasion of Sicily. They were flown 450 miles across the Mediterranean from North Africa for the nighttime assaults such as Operation Ladbrokes. Inexperience and poor conditions contributed to the heavy losses. They participated in the American airborne landings in Normandy on June 6, 1944, and in other important airborne operations in Europe and in the China-Burma-India theater. Although not the intention of the Army Air Forces, gliders were generally considered expendable by high-ranking European theater officers and combat personnel and were abandoned or destroyed after landing. While equipment and methods for extracting flyable gliders were developed and delivered to Europe, half of that equipment was rendered unavailable by certain higher-ranked officers. Despite this lack of support for the recovery system, several gliders were recovered from Normandy and even more from Operation Market Garden in the Netherlands and Basel, Germany. The CG-4A found favour where its small size was a benefit. The larger British airspeed Horsa could carry more troopers, seating for 28 or a jeep or an anti-tank gun, and the British General Aircraft Hamilcar could carry 7 tons, enough for a light tank, but the CG-4A could land in smaller spaces. In addition, by using a fairly simple grapple system, an in-flight C-47 equipped with a tailhook and rope braking drum could pick up a CG-4A waiting on the ground. The system was used in the 1945 high-elevation rescue of the survivors of the Gremlin Special 1945 crash, in a mountain valley of New Guinea. The CG-4A was also used to send supplies to partisans in Yugoslavia. After World War II ended, most of the remaining CG-4As were declared surplus and almost all were sold. Many were bought for the wood in the large shipping boxes. Others were bought for conversion to towed camping homes with the wing and tail end cut off and being towed by the rear section, and others sold for hunting cabins and lakeside vacation cabins. The last known use of the CG-4A was in the early 1950s by the U.S. Air Force with an Arctic detachment aiding scientific research. The CG-4As were used for getting personnel down to, and up from, floating ice floes, with the glider being towed out, released for landing, and then picked up later by the same type of aircraft, using the hook and line method developed during World War II. The only modification to the CG-4A was the fitting of wide skis in place of the landing gear for landing on the Arctic ice floes. Variants: XCG-4. Prototypes, 2 built, plus 1 stress test article. CG-4A. Main production variant, survivors became G-4A in 1948, 13,903 built by 16 contractors. XCG-4B. 1 Tim-built CG-4A with a plywood structure. XPG-1. 1 CG-4A converted with 2 Franklin 6AC 298N3 engines by Northwestern. XPG-2. 1 CG-4A converted with 2 175 HP, 130 kilowatts, Ranger L440-1 engines by Ridgefield. XPG-2A. 2 articles, XPG-2 engines changed to 200 HP, 150 kilowatts, plus 1 CG-4A converted also with 200 HP, 150 kilowatts, engines. PG-2A. Production PG-2A with 2 200 HP, 150 kilowatts, L440-7S, redesignated G-2A in 1948, 10 built by Northwestern. XPG-2B. Cancelled variant with 2 R775-9 engines. LRW-1. CG-4A transferred to the United States Navy, 13 units. G-2A. PG-2A redesignated in 1948. G-4A. CG-4A redesignated in 1948. G-4C. G-4A with different tow bar, 35 conversions. Hadrian Mk.I. Royal Air Force designation for the CG-4A, 25 delivered. Hadrian Mk.II. Royal Air Force designation for the CG-4A with equipment changes. Operators. Canada. Royal Canadian Air Force. Czechoslovakia. Czechoslovakian Air Force operated 2 or 3 Wacos, designated NK4. United Kingdom. Army Air Corps. Glider Pilot Regiment. Royal Air Force. Number 668 Squadron RAF. Number 669 Squadron RAF. Number 670 Squadron RAF. Number 671 Squadron RAF. Number 672 Squadron RAF. Number 673 Squadron RAF. United States. United States Army Air Forces. United States Navy. Accidents and incidents. August 1, 1943, CG-4A RO 42 to 78,839, built by contractor Robertson Aircraft Corporation, lost its right wing and plummeted to Earth immediately after release by a tow airplane over Lambert Field, St. Louis, Missouri, USA. Several thousand spectators had gathered for the first public demonstration of the St. Louis-built glider, which was flown by 2 USAF crewmen and carried St. Louis Mayor William D. Becker, Robertson Aircraft co-founder Major William B. Robertson, and 6 other VIP passengers. All 10 occupants perished in the crash. The accident was attributed to the failure of a defective wing strut fitting that had been provided by a subcontractor. The post-crash investigation indicted Robertson Aircraft for lax quality control. Several inspectors were relieved of duty. Surviving aircraft. 42 to 43,809 on display at the Museum of Army Flying in Middle Wallop, Hampshire. 45 to 13,696 CG-4A under restoration at the Yanks Air Museum in Chino, California. 45 to 14,647 cockpit section on static display at the Pima Air and Space Museum in Tucson, Arizona. 45 to 15,009 CG-4A on static display at the Air Mobility Command Museum at Dover Air Force Base near Dover, Delaware. 45 to 15,574 on static display at the Cradle of Aviation Museum in Garden City, New York. 45 to 15,965 on display at the Kalamazoo Air Zoo in Portage, Michigan. It is painted as 42 to 46,574. 45 to 17,241 on static display at the Airborne Museum in Saint-Mère-Église, Normandy. 45 to 27,948 CG-4A on static display at the National Museum of the United States Air Force in Dayton, Ohio. Replica on display at the Fagan Fighters World War II Museum in Granite Falls, Minnesota. Replica on display at the Fighting Falcon Museum in Greenville, Michigan. Unknown on display at the Menominee Range Historical Foundation in Iron Mountain, Michigan. Unknown CG-4A on display at the National Soaring Museum in Elmira, New York. 45 to 15,691 CG-4A on display at the Silent Wings Museum in Lubbock, Texas. Unknown CG-4A on display at the Don F. Pratt Memorial Museum at Fort Campbell near Clarksville, Tennessee. Unknown CG-4A on static display at the Yorkshire Air Museum in Elvington, Yorkshire. Unknown on display at the Assault Glider Trust in Shawbury, Shropshire. Unknown on static display at the Airborne and Special Operations Museum in Fayetteville, North Carolina. Potentially given the serial number 45 to 15,073 from a cancelled production batch. Unknown on static display at the National Infantry Museum at Fort Benning near Columbus, Georgia. Potentially serial number 45 to 15821. Unknown on static display at the 82nd Airborne Division War Memorial Museum at Fort Bragg in Fayetteville, North Carolina. Unknown on display at the Carolinas Aviation Museum in Charlotte, North Carolina. Unknown on display at the Cumbria's Museum of Military Life in Carlisle, Cumbria. Unknown on display at the Bevrijden de Vleugels Museum in Best, North Brabant. Specifications, CG4A. General characteristics. Crew, 2 pilots. Capacity, 13 troops, or quarter-ton truck, jeep, and 4 troopers, or 6 litters. Length, 48 feet 8 in, 14.8 m. Wingspan, 83 feet 8 in, 25.5 m. Height, 15 feet 4 in, 4.7 m. Wing area, 900 feet superscript 2, 83.6 square meters. Empty weight, 3,900 pounds, 1,769 kilograms. Useful load. Troop carrier, 2 crew and 13 passengers 4,197 pounds, 1,904 kilograms. Cargo carrier, jeep, 2 crew, 4 passengers, 1 jeep car 4,197 pounds, 1,904 kilograms. Cargo carrier, 75 mm howitzer, 2 crew, 3 passengers, 1 howitzer, 18 rounds ammunition 4,197 pounds, 1,904 kilograms. Loaded weight, 7,500 pounds, 3,402 kilograms. Max takeoff weight, 7,500 pounds, 3,402 kilograms. Max takeoff, emergency load 9,000 pounds, 4,082 kilograms. Performance. Never exceed speed, 150 miles per hour IAS, 241 kilometers per hour. Maximum speed, 150 miles per hour ca, 240 kilometers per hour ca, at 7,500 pounds, 3,400 kilograms, 128 miles per hour, 206 kilometers per hour, ca/135 mph, 217 kilometers per hour, IAS at 9,000 pounds, 4,100 kilograms. Cruise speed, IAS 72.6 miles per hour, 117 kilometers per hour. Stall speed, 49 miles per hour, 79 kilometers per hour, with design load 7,500 pounds, 3,400 kilograms. Wing loading, 8.33 lb/foot superscript 2, 40.7 kg/m superscript 2. Rate of sink, about 400 feet/min, 2 m/s, at tactical glide speed, IAS 60 miles per hour, 96 km per hour. Landing run, 600 to 800 feet, 180 to 244 m, for normal 3-point landing. Landing rolls of approximately 2,000 to 3,000 feet, 610 to 910 m, are to be expected at the higher emergency gross weights. Armament. None. Role military glider. Manufacturer Waco Aircraft Company. First flight 1942. Primary users United States Army Air Forces. Royal Air Force. Royal Canadian Air Force. United States Navy. Number built greater than 13,903. Variants Waco CG-15.
Please subscribe and thanks for watching.